So here's the picture. Folks, Canada's Prime Minister is out in Europe, strutting around like some big player on the global stage, promising grand visions and $500 billion in investments. Half a trillion. He's talking about energy infrastructure, port expansions, shipping hubs. On paper, it sounds like a master plan, a new age for Canada as an energy superpower. But let's cut through the noise for a second, because what it really looks like is Canada desperately trying to impress Germany while losing leverage where it matters most with the United States. Think about this. He lands in Berlin, and instead of defending Canada against brutal U.S. tariffs that are hammering Canadian industries, he offers Germany promises of Canadian natural gas, Canadian ports, Canadian infrastructure projects. He floats the idea of reviving Churchill in northern Manitoba as a shipping hub for liquefied natural gas. He brags about expansions at Montreal's port. He wants to pitch himself as the big statesman who can feed Europe's energy future. And for a split second, it almost sounds inspiring. You hear the words liquefied natural gas, critical minerals, hydrogen exports, and you start to imagine Canada stepping into the role of reliable supplier. But then reality hits. Germany gets speeches and polite applause. Meanwhile, the U.S. slams Canada with tariffs on lumber, canola, small business exports. And here's the kicker. While Canada is out there making big promises for tomorrow, Trump is locking down energy dominance today. The United States already has the LNG facilities. It already has the pipelines, the tankers, the contracts. Alberta oil is flowing south and being sold as part of America's leverage. Washington is not waiting. Washington is cashing in. This is the brutal contrast. Canada talks about what might happen. The U.S. delivers results, and let's not sugarcoat it. The Canadian government looks like it's giving away leverage for free. When Carney, the Prime Minister, was asked directly by a reporter in Berlin, what can Canada realistically offer Germany and Europe given the lack of East Coast ports and pipelines, his answer was vague at best. He mumbled about opportunities in critical metals, in hydrogen, in medium-term energy projects, medium-term... Do you see the problem? Europe isn't asking for medium-term fantasies. They want contracts signed, supply guaranteed, energy secured now. Canada doesn't have it. America does... So Germany smiles politely, listens to the grand vision, and walks away without putting a single thing in writing. No deals. No contracts. No commitments. Washington, on the other hand, walks away with real leverage. They lock in contracts on force tariff and secure markets for American energy and American workers. And who pays the price for Ottawa's grandstanding? Canadian workers, mills in British Columbia cut shifts. Prairie farmers lose access to markets overnight. Manufacturers in Ontario suddenly face higher costs just to ship across the border. For Canadians, this is betrayal at home. For Americans, it's another clean win. Now let's really dive into this split screen moment. Carney is pitching liquefied natural gas terminals that don't exist yet. He's selling rail lines and ports that haven't been built. He's trying to brand himself as the guy who can transform Canada into Europe's reliable energy partner. But it's all blueprints. Maybe someday projects that rely on approvals from Ottawa. The same Ottawa that can't approve anything on time. And while Carney is outselling the dream, Trump is sealing the deal. LNG is already crossing the Atlantic. Tankers are already docking in Europe. Energy contracts are signed and sealed. That's real power. That's leverage. And Canadians are left with nothing but handshakes and headlines. This is where the damage goes far beyond tariffs. For decades, Canada's strength wasn't just the resources in the ground. It was the country's reputation, stable, reliable, predictable. Investors knew Canada as the safe bet, the country that might not dominate but always delivered. That reputation was worth billions. It allowed Canadian companies to punch above their weight. But what happened in Berlin? Carney's grand pitch exposed the cracks. Europe wanted guarantees. Instead, they got vague talk. They wanted contracts. Instead, they got a maybe someday sales pitch. And in today's energy market, that makes Canada look like a risk. And risk means money flows somewhere else. And guess where that somewhere else is? Straight into the hands of the United States. Because at the very same time, Trump was sending a message not just to voters at home, but to investors abroad. America can deliver. America has the energy, the infrastructure, the capacity, and the will. America can move now. That's why European buyers keep signing deals with you. So, suppliers, that's why capital is doubling down on you. So, energy infrastructure. The message is clear. Washington delivers, Ottawa delays. So let's call it for what it is. Carney's Berlin trip was a nothing burger. It produced no deals, no contracts, no leverage. It cost taxpayers money to fly him across the ocean so he could play the big statesman role. But the damage is real. Canada comes back looking weak, unable to defend its own industries, unable to secure new markets, and stripped of credibility. That reputation, once lost, is hard to win back. Meanwhile, Trump's tariffs are already biting. Steel, aluminum, auto parts, copper, all slapped with new duties. These are not fringe sectors. These are the backbone of Canadian jobs in Ontario. Quebec and the West, every percentage point at the border squeezes manufacturers, hits farmers, and freezes supply chains. Take steel as an example. Mills already under pressure from cheap Asian imports now face a tariff wall in the Yukon. It's not competition anymore. It's survival. Some producers are warning of layoffs, and when Canadian auto parts become more expensive to ship, automakers will shift to Michigan or Ohio, where the headaches disappear. That's jobs bleeding straight out of Canada, and all the while, Ottawa is stuck talking about diversification and long-term strategies. Workers don't care about that. Workers care about paying next month's bills. Ottawa is playing chess on a 10-year horizon, while Trump is putting food on American tables today. And Canadians are noticing, here's the irony. While Carney is selling a future Canada that might deliver someday, Trump is making sure Americans are getting results right now. Canadians are getting promises. Americans are getting paychecks. That's a powerful contrast, and it's a contrast that every Canadian worker can feel. The political storm is only getting louder back home. Premiers are losing patience. Business leaders are speaking out. Even unions are warning that Ottawa's obsession with handshakes and diplomacy is costing thousands of jobs. Alberta and Saskatchewan say their energy exports are going nowhere. Ontario's auto industry is staring down layoffs. And the question everyone is asking, where's the leadership? 3 years ago, Justin Trudeau stood in front of cameras and insisted there was no business case for exporting Canadian LNG across the Atlantic. Imagine that at the very moment Russia was becoming isolated because of its war on Ukraine, Ottawa refused to seize the opportunity. Europe was desperate to diversify away from Russian gas, and Canada could have stepped up, but Ottawa hesitated. And now, years later, we're seeing the consequences. Canada missed its chance. Now, Mark Carney, on his 5-day Europe tour, is trying to play catch-up. He announces some vague critical minerals partnership with Germany. He says Canada can accelerate diversification away from China and Russia. He frames it as a breakthrough moment, the dawn of a new era. And sure, it sounds good when you phrase it that way, but let's be real, it's a headline grab, not a game changer. Because here's what Germany actually needs. Guarantees, says timelines, contracts, shipments, not just a handshake deal on critical minerals. Investors don't pour billions into a project because someone said maybe they want certainty. And Carney didn't deliver certainty. He delivered talking points. And then came another announcement. Canada's new submarine purchase is narrowed down to suppliers from Germany and South Korea. Again, sounds flashy, but let's be brutally honest. Buying submarines doesn't fix the bleeding auto industry. It doesn't solve steel mills shutting down shifts. It doesn't help farmers losing markets. It's another distraction, a shiny object tossed into the media cycle, while the real damage keeps piling up. Back home, Canadians are not fooled. People see the tariffs, they see the layoffs, they see factories struggling to keep the lights on. They don't care about European submarine deals. They care about the jobs they're about to lose. This is where the split screen gets devastating. On one side, you've got Carney smiling in Berlin, talking about partnerships and future opportunities. On the other side, you've got Trump hammering Canadian industries with tariffs and simultaneously telling American workers, I've got your back. Which message do you think lands harder with voters? With investors, with businesses deciding where to set up shop? It's not just about money. It's about credibility. Canada's global brand was always built on trust, reliability, predictability. Now that brand is collapsing. Foreign investors are second-guessing Canadian projects. European buyers are choosing suppliers. And once that perception sets in, that Canada is the country that talks big but can't back it up, it's almost impossible to undo. Let's break down the economic pain in concrete terms. Tariffs on steel and aluminum. That's Ontario Mills cutting production. Workers facing layoffs and supply chains slowing to a crawl. Auto parts tariffs. That's factories reconsidering whether to operate in Ontario or just shift south of the border. And you can bet automakers will choose the easier path. Move production to Michigan, Ottawa, or anywhere in the US where tariffs aren't strangling them. Then there's agriculture. Prairie farmers are already struggling with global price swings. Now, with you, tariffs slamming canola and small business exports. Their markets are evaporating overnight. Lumber, same story. BC, mills are warning about survival, not just competition. These are not side issues. They're the backbone of the Canadian economy. And what's Ottawa's response? Long-term diversification, hydrogen projects, critical mineral strategies. That might sound smart in a university seminar, but for working Canadians, it's a slap in the face. You can't pay the mortgage on promises of hydrogen exports 10 years down the road. You can't feed your family on critical mineral partnerships that exist only on paper. This is why the anger is spreading across the country. Doug Ford in Ontario has been blunt. He's accused Ottawa of leaving Ontario on its own as auto tariffs pile up. Business groups are warning that small and mid-sized companies can't absorb these hits forever. Even unions, usually loyal to Ottawa, are starting to sound the alarm without real negotiation. Thousands of blue-collar jobs are on the chopping block. Let's not forget Alberta and Saskatchewan. They've been screaming for years that their energy exports get no traction in Washington. And now they're watching the U.S. dominate the global LNG market while Canada dithers. Their frustration is boiling over, and it's feeding into a bigger narrative. Ottawa is out of touch, weak, and blind to the urgency of the moment. And you know what? They're right. Look at the contrast. Trump's message is simple, powerful, and clear. Protect American workers first. Carney's message will be reliable in the future. If everything lines up, if projects get approved, if the stars align, that's not leadership. That's hesitation, and hesitation in geopolitics is fatal. Here's another problem nobody in Ottawa seems willing to admit. Once tariffs are in place, once markets shift, once supply chains rewire themselves, it's incredibly difficult to reverse the damage. If automakers move production out of Ontario, they won't just come back because Canada finally gets its act together 5 years later. If European buyers sign 20-year LNG contracts with you, us suppliers, they won't rip those up because Canada finally built a terminal. That's the reality. And Carney's government doesn't seem to get it. They're so obsessed with projecting themselves as international statesmen that they've lost sight of the basic job of leadership, defending Canadian workers and industries right now, and the political fallout is coming fast. You can already see it. Business leaders are more vocal than ever. Premiers are rallying against Ottawa. Unions are panicking. Voters are frustrated. And the opposition is seizing the moment, framing Ottawa as weak, indecisive, and reckless with Canada's future. And honestly, they're not wrong. Look, Canadians are not anti-trade. They understand the importance of diversification. They want new markets. They want Canada to succeed on the global stage. But what they don't want is a government that abandons the home front while chasing headlines abroad. What they don't want is a prime minister who delivers speeches in Berlin while Trump delivers paychecks in America. This is the essence of the crisis. Canada is being outplayed, out-negotiated, out-leveraged, and the costs are not theoretical. They're hitting Canadian families right now. Every tariff is a pay cut. Every lost contract is a lost job. Every missed opportunity is another step behind. And here's the kicker. Once the perception of weakness sets in, the cycle feeds itself, investors pull back, markets look elsewhere, confidence erodes, and Canada's global standing crumbles. It's not just Carney's credibility on the line, it's the country's. So when Ottawa brags about partnerships with Germany or submarine deals or critical mineral strategies, Canadians see through it. They know it's smoke and mirrors, because at the end of the day, what matters isn't the speech you give in Berlin. It's whether Canadian workers can keep their jobs, whether Canadian industries can survive the tariff war, whether Canada can still be trusted as a serious player. And right now, the answer to all three is ugly. Jobs are bleeding out. Industries are under siege. And Canada's reputation is tanking. That's the reality Carney doesn't want you to see. But Canadians feel it every day. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Because this isn't just about one trade trip to Berlin. This is about Canada's place in the world and whether it's capable of defending its own future. For decades, Canada carried weight far beyond its size because of one thing: reliability. Investors knew it. Allies knew it. Even competitors respected it. Canada didn't need to it didn't need to bully. It didn't need to impose tariffs. It was seen as the steady hand. But what happens when that steady hand starts to shake? What happens when the government fumbles basic defense of Canadian industries? While pretending to play the global statesman abroad, you lose credibility, and credibility is everything. Once it slips away, the world doesn't wait for you to get it back. They move on. And let's be clear, the world is moving on. European buyers are signing long-term contracts with the U.S. Washington is deepening its control over global LNG markets. Capital that could have gone to Canadian projects is being sucked south of the border. Ottawa is losing not just deals, but entire industries. Think of the auto sector. Ontario has been a hub for decades, but with tariffs, costs rising, and uncertainty piling up, manufacturers are looking at Michigan and Ohio as safer bets. Once they move, they're not coming back. Same with steel and aluminum. Same with energy projects. This is how economic decline creeps in, not all at once, but piece by piece, deal by deal, job by job. And while this is happening, Carney is out there making vague promises about hydrogen exports and critical minerals. Let's not kid ourselves. Hydrogen projects take years to build. If they even get approval, critical minerals sound sexy. But mining projects in Canada face endless delays, regulatory red tape, lawsuits, and political battles. Investors know it. Buyers know it. That's why they're not biting. Meanwhile, Trump is rewriting the playbook. His tariffs may be aggressive, even brutal, but they're effective. They send a clear signal. America first, protect American workers, build American energy dominance. And guess what? That clarity works. Investors trust it. Workers rally behind it. Allies, even if they grumble, adapt to it. Compare that with Ottawa's message. We'll be reliable in the future. Maybe if projects are approved, if timelines work out, that doesn't inspire trust, that doesn't protect jobs, that doesn't win markets. It just makes Canada look like it's begging for relevance while bleeding leverage. And here's the political reality. Canadians are noticing ordinary families don't need a government briefing to see what's happening. They feel it in rising costs. They see it in layoffs. They watch companies relocate. They understand that while the U.S. is strengthening its position, Canada is getting weaker. Even premiers who usually keep their frustrations quiet are speaking out. Alberta and Saskatchewan are fed up with Ottawa's failure to champion energy. Ontario's Doug Ford is furious about auto tariffs. Business leaders are warning of long-term decline. And unions are admitting that without real negotiation, thousands of jobs will vanish. That tells you how dire this has become. And yet, Carney and his team act as if speeches in Berlin and submarine announcements are enough to distract Canadians. They are not, because you can't fool people about their paychecks. You can't spin away factory closures. You can't rebrand layoffs as future opportunities. Canadians see through it. Here's the brutal truth. Canada is losing not only the tariff battle, not only the energy race, but also its reputation as a serious player. And that's the hardest thing to recover. Once investors doubt you, once allies sideline you, once workers stop believing in you, it's game over. Carney's Berlin trip should have been a chance to show strength. Instead, it exposed weakness. It showed Canada as the country of vague promises, not hard results. It showed Ottawa as out of touch, unable to defend its industries, unable to stand up to Washington, and unable to secure real wins abroad. And while this government fumbles, Trump continues to lock down dominance. His message is simple, forceful, and effective. America can deliver. Canada, maybe someday. And someday doesn't pay the bills. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a Canada that looks like it's on the sidelines, watching as its biggest ally and trading partner pulls further ahead. It leaves Canadian workers wondering who's actually fighting for them. It leaves businesses questioning whether to invest in Canada at all. The stakes could not be higher. This isn't just about tariffs or ports or LNG terminals. It's about whether Canada can remain a serious economic power or slide into irrelevance. And right now, under Carney's leadership, the slide is happening in real time. That's why Canadians are angry. That's why the political storm is intensifying. That's why you hear voices from every corner, premiers, unions, business groups, saying the same thing. Ottawa is out of touch. Ottawa is weak. Ottawa has lost the plot. At the end of the day, leadership is about results. Not speeches, not handshakes. Not headlines, results. Protecting workers, defending industries, securing markets, building credibility. That's the job. And right now, Ottawa is failing at every single one of those. So don't be fooled by the grand tours and international promises. Don't be distracted by submarine announcements or flashy words about critical minerals. Look at the results. Look at the tariffs. Look at the jobs bleeding away. Look at the factories under siege. Look at the credibility Canada is losing every single day. That's the real story. And it's a story Canadians can't afford to ignore. Because while Carney is chasing applause in Berlin, Trump is delivering paychecks in America. And when history looks back at this moment, it won't remember the speeches. It will remember the outcomes. And the outcome is this. America strengthened its dominance. Canada weakened its future. And Canadians are left holding the bill. So here's the bottom line. Canada had the chance to seize the moment, to step into the breach, to prove itself as a reliable partner when Europe needed it most. Instead, it hesitated. It fumbled. It settled for speeches while Trump secured contracts. And now the price is being paid by workers, by industries, by the country's reputation. And once that reputation is gone, once the world stops taking you seriously, it's nearly impossible to get it back. That's the tragedy of this moment. And it's why Canadians should be demanding more. demanding real leadership, demanding real results, demanding a government that fights for them instead of chasing headlines abroad. Because if they don't, the decline we're seeing now won't just be a momentary setback. It will be the new reality. And Canada deserves better than that.